Today we're going to learn about treble clef staff notes, and I'll show you a couple of tricks on how memorizing these notes can be made easier. In order to learn about the treble clef notes, we first have to be able to understand what a musical staff is. And a musical staff is essentially 5 lines and 4 spaces that create a system upon which we hang the musical notes, or the musical notes rest or live. I guess we could also consider this system a house upon which the notes live. We like to number in music the lines from the bottom to the top. So first line, second, third, fourth, and fifth, as well as the spaces 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm now going to show you what it looks like to place notes on the musical staff. So I'm going to redraw our musical staff with our 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to place a treble clef on this staff. So this will be the clef that our flute players, oboe, clarinet, trumpet, French horn players use. And I'm going to draw on some notes. I'm going to draw on some line notes. So I'm going to use a whole note, which is basically a big empty circle, to show you how we place these notes on the staff. These particular whole notes that I'm drawing live on the lines of the treble clef staff. I'm now going to draw 4 space notes. These notes are placed between the lines and live in the spaces of the staff. So once again, these are our line notes, and these are our space notes. And if we remember, the higher we travel up the staff, the higher the musical sounds go. And consequently, the lower we travel on the staff, the lower the sounds go. In order to identify the notes on the treble clef lines of the staff, we assign each of these notes a letter name. And that letter name never changes. For example, the note on the bottom of our staff is called E. The note on the second line of the treble clef staff is a G. Here we have a B, a D, and an F. So once again, those notes were E, G, B, D, and F. Something we use in music so that we can memorize those notes a little bit easier is an acronym called Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge. And by memorizing that acronym, we easier remember the note names of the treble clef staff. So once again, that acronym is E, G, B, D, and F, and it stands for Every Good Boy Deserves Fudge, or fun. Another one of my favorite acronyms that I once heard from a student was Ernie gave Bert dead flowers. So whatever you come up with that helps you to memorize EGBDF will help you to identify the notes of the treble clef staff. Now we'll move on to identifying the space notes of the treble clef staff. So our space notes, once again, live in between the lines, and they are F on the bottom space, followed by A, followed by C on the third space, and E on the fourth space. I'm just going to draw in those letter names. F, A, C, E. And we actually don't need an acronym for FACE because, as you know, it spells face. So if we can remember, the treble clef space notes spell face, and the treble clef line notes spell every good boy deserves fudge, then really we've learned almost all of the notes of the treble clef staff, with the exception of a couple of ledger line notes. Ledger line notes are notes that live off of the staff, so they live above the staff or below the staff. They're still part of the treble clef system, but they don't appear on the 5 lines and 4 spaces. Something that might be kind of worth noting or talking about is the treble clef's line and space notes used together. So if we take a look at the bottom line E and move up to the next space, it happens logically and sequentially in a musical alphabet. So we have E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. The musical alphabet is so very similar to the alphabet we all know. It is the alphabet we all know, except it only goes up to the letter G. There is no H in the musical alphabet. And this alphabet just repeats itself. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the higher we go on the musical staff. There are 2 more notes I want to talk about today that we haven't yet talked about that live outside of the treble clef staff. The first one is the note named D. This particular note hugs the bottom line of the treble clef staff, and that is a letter D. And the one a step below the letter D, very common for clarinet and trumpet players, is the letter C, or the middle C, located on a piano keyboard. These 2 notes will be used extensively by many musicians in our band. So now we'll take a moment to recap everything we've learned in this lesson so far. The 5-line 4-space system is called a staff, and both our treble clef and our bass clef, who we haven't yet talked about, live on this staff. In this particular lesson, we're talking about the treble clef. The line notes begin on the bottom first line and proceed upward, and they are lettered as E, G, B, D, and F. Every good boy deserves fudge, or Ernie gave Bert dead flowers. Our space notes, also labeled from the bottom of the staff to the top, are F, A, C, and E. We remember face, that'll help us a lot. And then the 2 that we talked about at the end of the lesson were the letter D and C below D. If we can memorize those notes, we'll find our job as musicians in the concert band so much easier, because then the only next step we have to do is attach fingerings to these notes based on whatever instrument it is that we're playing in the concert band. So now we can look at the treble clef in the context of one of our band pieces. This is taken directly out of our flute book, number 3, page 2 in the method book. And here is our treble clef sign. As you see, placed on the system of 5 lines and 4 spaces, our staff, and all of the notes living upon the staff. Some are half notes, some are quarters and eighths. We'll save that for another lesson. But you see now how our lesson applies to reading actual music, reading treble clef notes in actual music. The interesting thing about being able to read notes is whether it's a complicated piece of music such as Beethoven's Für Elise for piano, or an easier exercise out of our method book, all the same rules apply, and the note names don't change whether it's a complicated or simple piece of music. So once you learn these rules and learn these notes, you can apply them in reading any level of difficulty of music.